Are the online folks able to hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for joining both in person and online today, especially with the quick turnaround and last minute notice, but we appreciate you carving out time for our follow-up meeting. We thought that last week's meeting had a lot of content that we were able to skim over, but wanted to make sure that we followed up and had a thorough in-depth dive here. So just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded for internal purposes, and we will be posting this online. But with that, I will get into it since we want to make sure we have enough time to discuss and get into our content. So today we'll do our typical welcome and introduction, and then we'll have our focused meat of the content today is on our 28th Street Little Portugal BART station design update. So I'll follow up from last week's meeting for those of you who are able to attend. And then we will follow with any questions and answers that you have. And for you folks that are in the room, we do have the options on the wall as well, in case you want to see them up close there. And then we'll get into our next steps. So with that,
Hey, Kristen, I think on the invite, I think the first 15 minutes is our kind of mingle time before we start. And so some people may not be planning to join until later.
yes.
I don't know how many people are online, but
There's about 23 online. But I guess we can give folks some time to trickle in.
just
Yeah. Thank you for flagging that, Erica. And I guess while we're waiting, were there any reflections or thoughts from folks from last week's meeting that you kind of want to go through today or get some clarity on as well?
How about the bridge over Coyote Creek? Are we dealing with that?
That's a DOT thing.
Okay,
but
okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's gonna eventually connect the west side to BART.
eventually, but the problems that this has been on the books for decades.
Oh, yeah,
And part of the problem is that bridge is going to be really close to San Jose Water's pump plant,
right?
and Homeland Security has a problem because they want to do the same kind of thing down like Story Road,
Right.
bring a bridge over Coyote Creek just north of Story Road to get people into what will be a park, probably, who knows, Coyote Meadows.
Right.
And that's the same problem they have down there because there's a San Jose Water pump station.
So I was thinking that still of the old idea coming through the back of Empire into Roosevelt Park.
Oh, Empire Street, yes.
Yes.
Well, there are other places north of where they're currently planning. Yeah, there are other opportunities north probably that they could do. But the one they currently have has been on the books for
Probably since
we were in high school.
Right.
Anything else on the stuff we covered last week that you guys want me to touch on more specifically?
No, seeing what we're going to see today, hopefully we'll.
Yeah. I mean, we have more details today. So, how about anybody online? Does anybody online? Maybe we can get we'll go through the roll in a little bit to see who wasn't here last time. But if anybody was here last time and there's anything you want us to maybe talk a little bit more about, maybe we can revisit that before we get started. You can raise your hand in the chat, or turn on your video and raise your hand maybe.
Yes, I see Mimi, you have your hand raised.
I really enjoyed last week's session. I thought there were some good questions. I really liked, I think it was the young man from the high school that brought out the questions about when we're looking at the illustration of what is being proposed, to have them be 2 dimensions so that we can really get an idea of what we're looking at. So I thought that was really great, but I thought hopefully you guys were able to take a lot of the information and feedback from everyone. That was super valuable. And it was nice to have an in-person meeting. Though I will confess, going to De La Cruz at this time of the day is a nightmare. But I'm gladly to join via Zoom. Thank you.
Depends on where you're coming from, actually.
Yes, and typically we will try to have it in the 28th Street Little Portugal Station area. Obviously, with the quick turnaround, we just wanted to have both hybrid or in-person and online options. So appreciate.
The young man was in college.
Yeah. Yes. Charlotte, I see that your hand is also raised as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just wanted to, first of all, confirm that I was in the last meeting. Maybe some of you didn't notice, but I was there quietly listening. I thought it was an opportunity more for the community members to express their thoughts. So, but I was quietly listening. Just wanted to confirm that. And the other thing that perhaps was not discussed, and I don't know if this is part of the conversations, is really the potential, I don't know if the word's extension or doing activities from the BART Plaza that extend across 28th Street into that little park that DDF has identified. And I don't know if this is something that we want to talk about it, but I think at some point we talk about the opportunity to do activation in those spaces for activities for the community that maybe they need a larger space. And one of the things we did in the DDF, or we're thinking about, is raising the street and basically extending the plaza, although the plaza is very generous. I believe it's 1 acre in size. But anyway, I just want to bring that out in case that anyone wants to talk about that. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
Are we talking about raising, tearing it out, or raising, elevating?
We talked about what we've talked, I think Cheryl was mentioning, is the kind of making it a
Big speed bump.
yeah, kind of a kind of speed table, or eliminating the curb and gutter along that stretch, which would kind of allow for more pedestrian flow without a tripping hazard. And that's something I think we could look at as a program. I know the city's made that request for that particular element.
We could use that element now, the way cars use that as a drag strip.
Yeah.
It's just a comment. Yes. DOT's probably there somewhere.
And I also, on the comments on the dimensions, yes, we do have dimensions, Mimi, on the exhibits we'll present today, which will also have some square footages on things that will compare kind of square footages of future TOD and station entrances and things like that. So we'll put those up on the screen, and we've got some on the wall here for the folks that are here, but we'll actually have those, and they'll be part of the presentation. I will say the dimensions are approximate. They're nearest 5 feet or so. We say 165 feet, 30 feet, 115. It's plus or minus 5 or so at this point. So just keep that in mind. Anybody else have anything else that they wanted to comment on based on last week's meeting? Okay.
Looking at these that are on the wall,
Mm-hmm.
labeling stuff. I mean, these massings, well, these are massings, showing that that's a garage back there. And is that the shape of the garage, for instance? Because if you take these on the road and show other people, they're not really representative of the final solution, because you're going to have blocks. And that's a parking garage back there. So it looks like you're only going to have 3 buildings plus the station on this property.
Right.
When it's not the case.
And those on the call will show you guys these, but this particular workshop is really geared towards this plaza, this station, this head house. But I agree with what you're saying, David, is when we do, and I know that this exhibit, this massing diagram, is a little bigger. The site, the DDF team who put those together, which is which is part of the overall program as well as the entire
You
area.
might want to say what DDF means, design.
The
development
design
framework.
development framework folks who are putting that together, they do have all of those buildings are labeled and they have square footages on those and things like that. But we asked them to kind of, hey, give us from the church to kind of the area we're talking about, and let's blow that up and look at that. But I agree, good comment that we should look at a larger picture and have a little bit of that in here too. And we will have that for the next week's community meeting.
Mhm.
So the community meeting that is scheduled for August the 7th will have kind of a more of a bigger picture, broad brush of the area. We can definitely include that for that meeting. You know, everybody on this call has seen this area. You know, we kind of know what that is. That's why we're focused here.
And if I suggest, okay, no, that's good. No, I misread something up there. Go ahead.
Okay. Do we want to get started? I know we're a couple minutes early, but if there's no other questions, we can get rolling.
Yeah, it looks like our attendance online has also settled, so we can dive on in here. With that, we'll do our roll call. Let me go down the list here. I don't think I saw Bill or Chris. Chris Esparza, but I do see Chris Simmons. You want to say hi?
Hi, I'm here.
Thank you, Chris. I don't see Connie, but I know that Helen is here. Do you want to introduce yourself early, Helen?
Yes, I'm Helen Masamori. I represent Fivewood. I cannot talk today. Rookwood Terrace Neighborhood Action Coalition and Santa Clara Island Rock Business Association.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Danny, do you want to introduce yourself?
Danny Garza, Plata Royal Neighborhood Association.
Thank you, Danny. David?
And David Vieira, Five Wounds Portuguese National Church.
Thank you, David.
I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Chris Patterson Simmons, East Village, AKA East Santa Clara Street Business Association.
Yes, thank you, Chris. And I don't see Dee or Alma or Elsa.
Yeah, last week Elsa was on vacation. I don't know what she's doing this week.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Thanks. I don't see Isa, but I did see Damone's. Oh, maybe Damone's note taker. So I don't think Damone's in the meeting here.
Damone's co-pilot.
Yes. But hello, Damone, if you're reviewing these notes. I don't think I saw Jesus or Justin.
Hello. Sorry about that. I'm here representing Jesus Flores. I'm
Okay.
Stephanie Flores, Programs Director for Latino Business Foundation. So I'm
Thank you.
representing Jesus today.
Awesome. Appreciate it. And then I believe I saw Marissa online. If you want to jump in, Marissa. And if you're speaking, you're on mute. All right, you might
Sorry,
have.
is it Marissa?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Hello, Marissa Diaz, Cristo Rey, high school student representative, now alumni.
Thank you, Marissa. And I know Terry is back in London, so hope he's enjoying his travels
I
out
think
there.
he's traveling, right? Well, today's Wednesday. He's there.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining today, all. And just a reminder, I know I went over this last week, but we will have our next CWG meeting on August 21st. So just around the corner, and it'll be a follow-up to the content shared at this meeting here. And there's a few upcoming board of directors meetings as well as oversight committee meetings to have on your radar between August and September there. And if there's any additional meetings, I'll be sure to send out a reminder there. And with that, I'll pass it over to Greg for the bulk of our meeting here, our 28th Street Little Portugal BART station design update. And if you could hold your questions until the end, there's a lot of content to go through, but we'll take a deep dive and make sure that we give some space for any questions and comments here.
Where's the popcorn?
Get the lights, we turn the lights
Yeah.
down.
There's water. Whatever we do for
There's
this
some
water.
water over there. All right, thanks, everybody. Greg Tebow, I'm the facilities engineering manager for the program. So I'm working on all the stations throughout the alignment here, as well as the yard. So I kind of wanted to show just the overall site where we're at. I think everybody's aware of where the BART facility will be. So this is just a general map of that area. So we'll get into some details. Let's see, these are the things we talked about last week. These are all things that we were kind of using to evaluate our options here. These are things we got feedback from the community working group last week. So thank you guys for taking the polls. I know those polls sometimes didn't quite work perfectly with the phone configurations. So we sent them out again. So hopefully you guys have the link to that. And if you guys take that again, hopefully we'll get some more feedback and it will allow you a little bit more insight to give us utilizing the ones that were sent out in the link to the meeting today. Again, these are some things we've already done. We've tried to move as many of these kind of infrastructure related facilities over to the north vent shaft, which is on the northeastern portion of the job. We tried to bring as much underground as possible. We've expanded that paseo in our options between the station head house and the station infrastructure building. Again, we've tried to maximize that plaza area to be about an acre. And then we've also put in some integrated ground floor commercial leasable space in colony activation. And then also looked at optimizing the TOD opportunities around the station. So those are real things that we've done. I've also covered this. These are things that we have to have above grade for the most part. So we don't need to go into all those in detail, but I just want to show you there are some square footages that we do have to accommodate. So we do still have the 4 options that we want to get more feedback on today. And I'll present those in a little more detail. We've got our underground option, the integrated above and underground, our consolidated, and then the above ground. These are kind of what the 4 options look like based on the future condition build out. So I'll leave it here for a minute just so you guys can see what we're talking about. You know, I think there was a comment asking about massing and how large these things are going to look in the future. So these 4 slides show where the church is, where the high school is, where the station plaza will be in orange, some of the neighborhood park across the street that Charlotte mentioned earlier, and then these 4 station options that are shown really in blue. And those are the real configurational updates that we wanted to talk about, just the areas in blue. You know, David, you mentioned something, we should have a bigger picture of the whole area. We'll definitely have that for next week's community meeting. But today we really want to focus on these quadrants. I will say that those TOD black and white buildings are definitely just concepts at this point. We are not here to talk about, you know, what those shapes of those buildings will be, or what. Sorry, I think we're battling mice. Yes. Okay. So we're not here to talk about what these shapes will be. I don't know what they'll be, but it really comes down to what the footprint will look like. So those are kind of 4 options. Option 1 is we have a smaller area that kind of takes a little bit of the plaza here and this future TOD. Option 2 does allow for a TOD in this area and then kind of consolidates everything over in this quadrant here in terms of an above grade and below grade structure. Option 3 tries to bring the station and the infrastructure building together, but does create more of a larger building. And then option 4 was our all above grade option, which has a smaller TOD footprint that faces 28. So those are kind of the 4 things that we'll get into in a little more detail. Again, the area under evaluation is just where we're talking about for the future TOD site and the station head house that's shown in purple. This is the underground option that shows
You might want to say TOD is transit-oriented development.
Thank you. Yes, that is transit-oriented development. So that will be ground floor, commercially leasable space. That could be anything from businesses, retail, food services, or other institutions that could take part in that. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that somebody's selling. And then above that would be mixed use. So that could be housing, it could be office space, and it really depends on how the whole build out will look. So when we say future TOD zones, that's really a wide variety of open space that could happen there. So this is the first concept we talked about. We added some dimensions to it. We do kind of show where that paseo would be between the two. And then we show that this infrastructure facility is kind of cutting the corner of the plaza out a little bit here. And then we would need to roll back the TOD footprint a little bit in this northeast quadrant. And then we have a pretty large, massive underground facility here. This does impact the plaza a little bit. When you have a very large basement here, you can't have very large site trees above it. So there's certain things on the plaza that do get affected if we have this underground station infrastructure facility all below grade here. But I think we're able to have some of those trees and things over here. The next option, or this just gives you a little bit more of a detail of that particular option in terms of square footages, offsets, kind of how that site looks. Again, this orange plaza is about an acre. We tried to widen this paseo out. We've got our 28th Street bus stops over in this area. And we've got our future TOD site, and this could be surrounded by a multitude of different things. And here's a close-up view of that underground option.
And this would be the future build out, not opening day.
Right. So opening day, I think we talked a little bit about that before. That includes the parking lots, that includes the parking garages, but does not have these buildings in white and black. Okay, so this is the second option. And as Erica just mentioned, this is kind of what opening day would be. We've got some surface parking and parking garage. We got a north vent shaft facility over here to the left. And then we've got our facilities here. What this one does is combines a lot of above grade facilities with a below grade facility that directly connects to our head house here. You can see it in this hatch where we've got a lot of below grade facilities right adjacent to the head house. This is a pretty efficient design in that we've got a lot of facilities that come out of this head house and tie directly into the station's infrastructure facility. We utilize being below the paseo here, kind of optimize that configuration. And then we allow for about a 90-foot setback here for a future TOD site. And then we really have no impact to the station plaza. And again, I just want to reiterate the details associated with what's in the plaza will happen at a later CWG and a later DRC meetings. We have opportunity for
DRC.
DRC
Design Review Committee.
Right.
You don't want to let people know.
So yeah, the DRC meeting is a design review committee that will be focused a lot on the look and feel of the station. So some folks are a part of that design review committee that are on this call. And so that's, yeah, thanks David for mentioning that. So again, those are things that we'll talk about in the future. We have time to talk about that, whether or not we have kiosks out here and how this station looks and feels, the plaza. So that's the second option. Again, here's a little bit more detail of that. Again, this does provide for a pretty large footprint of underground facilities that really run directly from the head house into our infrastructure facility. which is the most feasible in terms of all those cables and wires and mechanical vent structures and things that we talked about, that I've talked about before, that we have to link these two pieces of infrastructure together. I also note that we've got a pretty large available space for ground floor activation here in this corner. We can reconfigure this in a few different ways. Oops. I guess I can't see my mouse anymore. But if you can see that, I don't know if you can point to that. Yeah, right about there. So this probably wraps, that whole block, maybe, more than 50% or so of ground floor activation by utilizing that corner right there as well. So I just want to note that is integrated into this program as well, into option 2, or the integrated option. And this is kind of how that future build out would look. Again, the purple spaces here are kind of ground floor activation. We've got our above grade facility. And this is I guess we can go back one, see if there's any, let's make sure you guys all get a kind of good picture of this. I do want to note that this has got another separate building here shown, and it's in dashed. This is a potential for a tentative build out if the plaza does not become something that is fully activated, or we think we want to add something later. This is not something that we need to talk about today or decide on today, but what the project will do is not have a lot of infrastructure in that particular area surrounding that building, so that it could be built out in the future. So I just want to take note for some of you who might see that this little hatched building is a little different here. I do want to note that this plaza is 1 acre. If it just becomes too big and it's underutilized, we're able to maybe talk about putting in another facility here, and that would be way beyond day 1. Okay, and then the third option, and I mentioned we showed this one last time, and it was a little less clear, and I wanted to make sure it's a little clear to everybody. This one brings the infrastructure facility close to the station and kind of almost overlaps it. And I don't know exactly if this is what it would exactly look like. This is just a concept. We'd probably make this a little bit different shaped. But what this does is it integrates those station infrastructure building facilities and the station head house together. The drawback with this is it may impact the openness of the station itself. So that's one thing to think about. Although we do bring the infrastructure facility back closer to the head house, which is really where it wants to be, we do probably impact maybe a portion of the station, which may make it a little bit more closed off. So in terms of station design, the station architects really like the open concept, and this one kind of closes it off a little bit. So that's one thing to consider when we're looking at this. But it does have the underground facility right adjacent to the purple head house, as much as about 70% of that infrastructure is below, and then we have some elements above. We would also have a paseo, again, about a 30-foot offset to a paseo. That would also utilize underground infrastructure below that. And then we would have a future TOD build-out site to the left of that. So hopefully everybody gets a concept, that third concept. And then the last concept, well, this is another close-up view of that. This one also does not have any integrated station infrastructure commercial space. So there's one thing that we were not able to accommodate when we kind of get things as tight as possible. We lose a little station space, and we lose the ability to build out some commercial leasable space on day 1. Okay, and then the last option is the option that we originally presented several months ago. This has just about everything above grade. It is the least expensive option in terms of build out and construction costs. We do have commercial space in the corner over here. We've got our TOD build out in this area, and then a fairly large wide open station configuration as well. And this is the same station configuration that's shown in option 1 and option 2 as well. So those are the main things that I wanted to present to the group today. Hopefully that helps kind of alleviate some of the questions folks may have had in terms of overall site build out, you know, rough order of magnitude on dimensions and things like that. I do want to get into the details, so to speak, a little bit. You know, the underground option is a little bit more expensive than the other two options presented. Again, it has just about 75% of the infrastructure facilities below grade. The other ones are about 55, 45. You can kind of work your way through those. The station plaza area remains all a little bit over an acre. You know, acres 48,000 square feet. So we're right about at an acre, sometimes a little bit more. Then we talk about the integrated commercially leasable space. Some have it, some don't. And then the future TOD is roughly the same for the three options, and then the above grade gets a little bit smaller. So that's what I have in terms of details, and we can definitely open it up and go back to the team here, to everybody on the team to ask more questions and look at each individual option.
Question chat already. Okay. Looks like online there's a question about how many commercial spaces are available and how will the space tenants be chosen?
So the question is how many commercially available spaces will be.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on which option we go with. But on the day one scenario, we would have, you know, depending on which option we go with, you know, I'll just look at the option that has a commercially available space on day one, which is this one. And we really have one space here. And then we would potentially have some spaces out in the plaza, which will be like, you know, some kiosk style spaces.
But those wouldn't necessarily be there day one.
They may or may not be there day one, right?
I know that in Milpitas, and I haven't been there since before it opened, but there was supposed to be a space for food trucks.
Yeah.
So a way to maybe test the viability of kiosks might be to allow for select food trucks, I mean, approved food trucks. So we don't have a food truck fair.
Yeah. And that's, we've kind of thought about that, and this northern or eastern portion of the site could be used for food truck entrance and exits, and we would be able to accommodate that in a few different areas. So that's definitely something we could consider. Right. And then also, you know, Milpitas, you know, sometimes it's very difficult to actually lease these spaces out. You know, in terms of a food truck or a temporary, you know, a kiosk is a lot of times easier than to have a full build out like this is. Jesse, would you like to add anything else on kind of the leasable spaces?
Oh, hi, this is Christina. Jesse might be transitioning to her car. I'm not sure if she's able to answer. But I can just throw in that, yes, the Milpitas space was not built out during the BART project. And so it's harder to find a tenant for that space who will do the tenant improvements to build it out. But what's nice here with phase 2 is that the BSV team is trying to, we've been coordinating with a retail strategist, and the team is trying to make it so that it's a little bit built out and more of a warm shell for a future commercial tenant.
For instance, are you putting in stacks, or at least allowing putting in chases for stacks and pipes and everything else that you need for like a food tenant?
We'll work with the team. We've got some time to figure that out, but we'll have all the utilities in place for, you know, some of the things that we think might be viable there.
For hoods and whatnot, you need
Whatever it is,
obviously,
right? So there's going to be ventilation, there's going to be various things that are going to be required there, and we'll have to have the roof penetrations and have all the service feeds available for that type of work. So gas, you know, potable water, sewer, plus electrical power distribution for the whole area.
So you have roof jacks out there ready.
Yeah, we'll have to have that. And that's what we're working with, whether or not we're going to have the floor built out, or whether we're going to have, you know, have a base rock floor, and then someone's got to come in and start routing utilities so that they don't have to do a bunch of concrete sawing and all that business. Like we're still going to work that out, you know, and we'll have to do that as we get closer. As for selection of the tenant, I'm not sure exactly how VTA will do that, but I assume it'll be through some type of proposal. Christina, is that right?
Yeah, that's a good question. Since the Milpitas one is not currently leased, I'm not really sure. Probably would have to be a competitive process since we're a public agency.
Yeah. And then as for the other TOD sites, you know, these ones, these will be developed in conjunction with a developer. And so and VTA, and like I say, that's a non-project activity. That's not something that the program is actually doing. We're just providing space for it. And then VTA and that developer will enter in an agreement, and then they'll build that out and then come to terms with any other leasable, you know, to leasees for those spaces as that gets built. And those would happen probably, I think the general timeframe would be within the first 2 years or so of the station opening. From what I understand, that's anticipated.
So what are the heights? For instance, on the future TOD side, what's the height on that? What's the height on that dashed building that is?
Yeah, so right now they could vary anywhere between, I think, 3 and 6 floors, Christina, if that all these buildings are kind of have multiple different floor scenarios depending on what square footage you guys need. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's a concept that's distributed across the whole entire 11 acres. And that's been going on through the design development framework process, where the goal, I mean, taking a bunch of different considerations of the overall site, the heights are lower near the church and school and higher towards the freeway and the farther side of the site on the north side.
So if you can see kind of the background here, you can see this far building concept is, you know, maybe 10 stories tall. And then this E5 here looks like it's about 5 stories, 6 stories, and these are shorter. So that could be the residential units. So that's about the way of this thing would be configured. And yeah, as Christina mentioned, they get shorter as we get closer to the station, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Greg was talking about earlier. For the future TOD build out, I think the goal is that VTA will, the TOD real estate group will have a simultaneous RFP process as the station is starting to come live. So as soon as we're able to get site control back from the contractor, then we can put out an RFP or for either a single developer or several developers who would build out the site. And then with the aim that once there is site control, they would, you know, already be doing community outreach, doing design development or design proposals, and be able to start taking action as soon as VTA gets site control back.
But who's doing the infrastructure? I mean, the streets, the block configuration, the streets, the utilities. Are you gonna have a district, establish a district on that 11 acres, like a Melrose or something like that?
I think that would be determined in the future, but because we're not certain at the present whether it would be a single developer or multiple developers over different phases. It's kind of based on the future market conditions.
Are they gonna be required to follow the rest of the safety issues and neighborhood issues that we've already suggested?
Yeah, and it'll fall within the urban village plan that the city is developing right now as well. So all those regulations would apply.
Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the regulations that we're talking about. No trucks, west of 28th Street. Stuff, crossing guards. If the project's done and someone else starts, we still want our kids to have crossing guards.
Yeah, I think that I would have to, I don't know, check on the answer because it would be a separate construction and development project outside of what the BSV team is arranging right now.
Okay, and the reason I'm saying that is because we're not separate. We're still here.
Yeah.
I hope we are, Danny.
Right, yeah.
A long time from now.
Yeah, correct. Sorry
You'll
about
be here,
that.
you'll be here.
But yeah, that's my point is we're still gonna be here and we still want the same protections.
Yes, yeah. And VTA is in a long-term relationship with the community. So all of those, I mean, we've heard those from this group. We've heard those concerns from the Cristo Rey outreach groups that we've done for the design development framework. And I think we're setting in place a lot of these connections with both the, like the surrounding neighbors and groups, but also how the safety and VTA protective services versus the sheriffs versus the local patrol unit will all be coordinated in the future relative to the station and the TOD.
Christina, I think it might be helpful if you remind everyone what the plan is for the DDF moving forward once the station configuration kind of lands, because a lot of these questions, I think, when things will get flushed out through that process.
Yeah, so the DDF is working towards a final, not a draft version that can be released publicly for everyone to review and comment on. And to date, we've done 2 seasons of engagement that lasted several months each, last spring and last fall, and reached out to over the 20 or 30 groups that Jesse was talking about during the last CWG last week. And so we're going to try to reach back to as many of those groups as we can again to do one last season of engagement and get people to fill out the comment form, go through the DDF and provide any feedback on the design principles that have gone into the document. And that's really what will be solidified sometime early next year. And that will kind of form the basis for providing guidelines to the developers of what types of proposals VTA and the community wants to see for these 11 acres.
Can I ask another question?
Of course. Yeah.
The brown, or the tan on the images. What is that? Is that stone? Is that concrete? Or is that?
I'm sorry, the design review committee is doing those kind of
Right.
considerations.
Okay, so I know that, but that's why I brought this forward is because whatever that is, we don't, and if food trucks or any vehicles are gonna be parking on there, right? They leak.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to require owners to diaper their vehicles.
Well, we're not gonna,
Okay.
It depends.
Correct.
we're
Correct.
not gonna get
It
into
was a
that,
joke, Dan.
but there, if you can see the, like, the background here, there's a lot of different, site features.
Yes.
Furniture and plaza features and, trees and, there's a paving
Yes,
scenario that runs from the corner here into this, that kind of has some decorative paving and all this business. So there's a lot of other details we'll be doing through the design review committee.
right. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if there's talk of maybe having an area here for food trucks, but no, I don't think a food truck's gonna be out here in the middle of the plaza, right?
Oh, you'd be surprised what they do on their own
Well,
around
that's
here.
right.
so we do have a BART police facility here, directly here, and there won't be people driving out on it. It's not, could potentially be drivable with some removable bollards, but it's definitely not gonna be a mountable curb where someone can go out there and
Okay.
drive around.
Actually,
That's another
road's big
safety
enough to
issue
have a
that
sideshow
we've
on
kind
it.
of brought up, is that if we do raise this whole intersection and this becomes all at grade, without a curb and gutter, that's a safety concern, really.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing that we've kind of said, are you sure you really want to do that? Because you lose, the bus drivers don't like it. You lose a little bit of that vehicle separation, because we will have quite a few cars coming through here. Unless you close this to vehicle traffic, and I don't think anybody's gonna do that. So,
Fire department might not like it either.
no, they're not gonna like that, right? So there's certain things that, you have to weigh those options. And so right now, we don't need to talk about that. We'll work through that, over the next few, 6 months or whatever, when we talk through the DDF. But yeah, there is a very intense, or detailed site plan. There's bike lockers out here. There's a lot of different things that we have in this site that we can talk about. Okay.
Are there any online folks who have questions or comments on the options presented?
Okay. And I know that the next steps that we want to talk about are retail kiosks, the community activation within the plaza area, and then the pedestrian routing and streetscape. And again, some of that will be part of the design review committee. Some will be, open up to the community working group as well. And we do plan to share this with the VTA board this month at the oversight committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Shouldn't the city of San Jose PRNS, that's Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services, be involved, like right now, or have already been involved with talks of activating this plaza, much like they do with Cesar Chavez Plaza downtown? I mean, this is a big opportunity as well. This is,
Agreed.
if, at its largest, it's an acre, which is a good sized piece of land. I mean, shouldn't cities, Parks and Rec Department be involved here, or Team
Yes.
USA?
VTA is in talks with the PRNS. When we just had a meeting with them actually today on some topics, like there's actually 3 proposed open spaces. So like a gateway park near Santa Clara, this neighborhood park that's across from the station entrance, and then another little, and the station plaza. So VTA is actively talking with them.
and that's this park here you're talking about as well, Christina?
Yeah, so that one, the station plaza, and then there's another little sliver kind of closer to Santa Clara.
Yeah, I think down here.
Where these 3 would be kind of depicted as, and Charlotte, let me have more comments, as flexible to become publicly owned or privately owned open spaces.
Charlotte, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, David, I believe you're the one who asked the question about what's going to happen in the plaza and whether or not the city's involved. So we met internally with Nancy Klein and the Office of Cultural Affairs. I think it's Michael O'Gleave, I think is his last name.
O'Gleave.
And Michael and Nancy are very much aware of the potential things that could happen here, but I guess so to answer your question, it is in our radar, but number two, we think that we're gonna get involved in that conversation when we talk about activation of the plaza, what kind of activities are gonna happen there, and then we'll have a conversation with VTA and the BART team when that moment arrives. But we are very much aware of that this is a public space and things that are happening there is something that the city should really think about. Thank you.
And right now we're making sure that both the DDF and the urban village plan enable these things in the space.
Right.
I mean, you know, in the original urban village plan, we had like a bandstand, for instance, like they have in Europe. In fact, they're called kiosks, at least in Portuguese, kiosk. So that those are the kind of things that need to be considered both by the city of San Jose and by VTA going forward. And that idea was put forward, I think I've said it more than once, by a high school student at San Jose High who probably has 3 kids and a wife and a job or 2 by now, since it was so long ago.
No, you bring an excellent point, David. I think it would be great if you can remind us of the content. I keep it in my mind also when the time arrives to have these conversations about activation of the plaza, but maybe this is not the right time to do that. Maybe when we have that opportunity to talk about the specific activating uses and things like that in the plaza. I believe what I'm hearing correctly from the BART team is that there will be an opportunity to have that nuanced discussion, but just to answer your question again, this is something that we're definitely interested in and we want to address. In fact, I think one of the things that Nancy brought up in the last internal meeting is that we need some water and electricity infrastructure, I believe. Those comments were formally submitted to the BART team. We need to look forward to have some, I think they want to have some basic level of utility connections. I think that comment went formally into the design development package. Anyways, you get the point that we're involved. Thank you.
So since we're talking about activating this, right? How about some sunshades?
Yeah, we
Okay.
definitely don't think there should be a wide open concrete deck. So
That's what's happening at a lot of our, and with the climate change and the heat coming, that's what's happening at a lot of our schools and a lot of our playgrounds. I mean,
So
Spotlight brought something up like that.
right now, there is a current design that has kind of a very large kind of trellis that comes across, kind of a wooden trellis with some vegetation on it. There's a lot of different options we can talk about for the station.
And the reason I'm talking about sunshades is because you could put them in and you can tear them out and build over. You said we're not putting trees because we may have underground facilities, right?
Well, that's if we pick the underground option, right?
Right.
So if we pick that one, then we can't have trees above it. If we don't pick that one and keep everything over in this area, then we can have larger trees in the plaza.
Right, and that's my point. If it becomes so great to use, and we're underground with no trees, let's put sunshades.
That's right.
Okay.
Do that too. So yeah, sunshade. So again, that's the next step, is to kind of talk through that. We do have some options that we've looked at as a group. We have certain things that we need to have in the station, like stormwater management, swales and things like that.
Correct.
So we have to have a certain number of square footages out there for that. We've got that laid out. We do have to have emergency response areas and bike lockers. We have to have certain things out there, and then we have a lot of space for other things. So we talked about having kind of this is more of an open pavilion style element where this could be used for a bandstand type thing, and whether we have power and water out here, that's not a big deal. We can definitely have that. We've talked about having power and water for the kiosk future connections as well. So we would have a lot of infrastructure. We want to put that in now and not have to worry about that later.
Yeah, so we're through the design review committee process, or the design review committee, looking at the aesthetics, we'll be evaluating and looking at the plaza and the layout and what happens where, and knowing that through this process here, we're looking at the above ground configuration and how it varies. We've postponed that process until after we land here. We'll be meeting with the design review committee members. Michael Overby from the city is one of those members, as is David and some others here. And then we have a larger public community engagement as it relates to that after as well. So there will be opportunity for everyone here, regardless of if you're on the design review committee or not, to engage in this. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware.
So whatever we build out there, right, it's gonna be wide open. Hopefully it's built, and not just because I'm an iron worker, but hopefully it's built out of steel because it won't rot. You know, epoxy coated iron, I don't care.
You'd be surprised how robust the BART criteria are. We essentially have to design this to equivalency of a hospital or a school. It's got a seismic and force factor above and beyond the building we're in today. If anything were to happen, you want to be near a BART station because that's probably not something that's gonna fall down. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. And we do have small businesses that can actually do that steel work. They're the ones, the one I'm thinking of is the one who did the Cesar Chavez Memorial at San Jose State. They're right here on 10th Street. So.
Okay, so those are the options. Is there any other questions on the call from anybody? Please make sure you guys take those survey questions that are posted. We can bring up the QR code once again. They will close down tonight. There's only about 5 or 6 or 8 questions. Take a look at them. There is one question, saying which option do you think is the most beneficial to the community? What's your preference? I have mentioned before, if we do move forward with these underground scenarios, the costs do go up for that. And when the costs go up for that, we have to offset it with some other things. So we want to make sure that we understand what's the most important for you as well, in terms of the look and feel of the station inside versus the look and feel of the station outside versus some of these plaza amenities that, we may have to kind of, look at trying to save some money to get a better design for an underground scenario. So those are some of the things we want to just get your feedback on. And I'm not saying that has to happen. I just want to know what the community feels is the most important part. And I think we heard from the group that user experience is one, and that's the final build out condition being a top priority. So, make sure that we focus on that.
And also want to note that these poll questions are a little different from last week's as well. We've added a few others. Monica's also placed it in the chat for folks who are online. And I did also email it out yesterday. So if you have a chance to fill out the survey today, we'll definitely factor that in advance of our meeting, our community meeting next week too.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, I think just to mention that kind of the process and next steps. I don't know that we flashed the slide up there, but so appreciate you all taking the time today. Strongly encourage you to please fill out the poll and the survey with your feedback. We'll have an update at the oversight committee meeting next week, and as well as the larger community meeting next week. So please help spread the word for that. We'll show that slide in just a minute. And then VTA is developing staff recommendations from these options, taking into consideration all of your feedback, all of the feedback from the various, the city as well, and weighing that with the different evaluation criteria. And we'll be developing staff recommendations that we will then share with the community working groups at the meetings in August, in advance of that going to the board, the VTA board of directors, to select options. The staff recommendation is to select options and option for the station to continue to explore. So we'll be bringing that back to you all to give you the preview for what the staff recommendation is going to be at the August meetings, and then that will be presented to the VTA board on September 5th. And then, as we've discussed and mentioned multiple times, we'll have the design review committee meeting later this year after that time frame.
Excuse me, are you able to put the back up, please. I had stepped away.
This one?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, no problem. And Helen, I see that you've asked if I can send the slides out after the meeting. I can send out the updated deck. I did send out what we had, which is about 90% of the same content yesterday, but I can send the updated version with our TOD versions.
Okay.
All right.
No, we appreciate this quick meeting. It answered a lot of questions and thanks a lot.
Yeah, a lot of clarification.
Okay.
That helped.
Awesome.
Good. Thanks again for being here, everybody.
Yes.
All right, hope to see you next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
In person and online.
Yes.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all for joining online and in person. Have a great night.
Off to Costco.
Thank you. I'll see you later, man. Thanks.
Thanks all.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.
We'll see you soon. Yep, see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
This is